Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network. This is the first episode of our new live stream. Now you're probably wondering, why isn't this live right now? Well, we had some issues setting up our live stream, so we're doing this on Zoom with our patrons. If they so choose to join, they get to hop on the Zoom call, and all subsequent episodes, when we're able to do live streams, will be live on our YouTube. Patrons, if you go to patreon.com/audionautic, we'll be able to join the chat in the video, and everyone else can be in the chat on YouTube.
That's right. It's a brand new kind of another step forward for this ever-growing network, bringing more live content, less pre-recorded, edited, and less flashy, that kind of thing. I imagine there'll be quite a lot of screw-ups at the beginning of this venture.
Oh yeah, so bear with us.
Yeah, we'll get there. That's fine. Yeah. But yeah, so we're meeting here at my time, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. CET, which is 7 p.m. GMT, and whatever time it is over in
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Yeah.
We'll be bringing this to you once a week, checking this out, chatting absolute bollocks, and trying to have some fun.
We'll have some relevant topics, though. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. Well, you just were working and didn't happen to look in our Twitter group, which, if you're a patron, you get to be in our Twitter group. But we've got some interesting stuff. Some news just occurred, so we are right on the situation.
Well, yeah, all right. So let's get onto it, shall we? But first and foremost, how are you today, Howard? All good?
I'm okay, thanks. Yeah. I'm a little curious about this Bandcamp.
Whoa! Spoilers, man! Spoilers. Yeah, I know what you mean. Really quick though, what is that to your left, under Grogu and your speaker, Howard? That synth that's just visible. It's under the left speaker.
This one.
I think so. I mean, I can't see your arm. Yeah, that one. Yeah, what is that?
It's just a Behringer TD3.
Oh, cool.
I have
Squawk Box 303 job.
It looks a lot darker than my one. I've got the TD3. What are you using it for? Are you making like acid bass lines with it, or just fucking around with it?
Do you know what? I haven't done much acidy stuff with it.
I thought you were going to say you haven't done much at all with it. I was like, that doesn't surprise me.
I've been rolling off the resonance and doing stuff that you wouldn't know was a 303 with it, or a 303 copy with it.
Yeah.
Because I found that about the original. There's some really nice cleany sounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
And got a lovely sawtooth, lovely square wave, and I don't know. They're really good for ARPs. Obviously, but you don't have to actually make them scream and so on, have them highly resonant and so on. There are a few other sort of types of voices you can get out of them that are a little bit more musical, maybe.
And is that a new one, or has that been around for a while?
That's been around for a while, yeah. I often use that and a plug-in in songs, because one's never enough, is it?
Nah, never enough. No.
Yeah.
How do you what are you using as the tempo? How do you feed in the correct tempo? Because obviously it's all
it's got USB MIDI on it and a MIDI input. I think, yeah, I've changed it to regular MIDI because I'm just using far too many USB ports on my computer. They're all full. So I moved it to an 8-port MIDI interface. I haven't got a clue how to use the sequencer on it. It's a
bit of a funny thing to do, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's one.
That's the sequencer that has all those rests and slides and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, it's like the original Roland one. Yeah, it's a bit of an art in itself to get comfortable with.
Aphex Twin used a lot.
Yeah. Some people really like it. Really relate to it. It's a step sequencer, but doing note ties and stuff like that is a little odd.
It's very clunky to kind of key that in. Like you got to go back and forth, and I feel like it's just a little bit of randomization. Really, you can't really understand what you're going to play beforehand.
That's what I tended to like about 303 and 303 clones. Is like how you could accidentally come up with a good riff.
Yeah.
I could never think of a good riff and program it, but I might come across one accidentally.
Isn't that the truth with everything, man?
A lot of things, yeah. I mean, and that's why I like them.
Yeah.
I like some things because you can do what you meant to do on it easily. And I like other things because they tend to just produce unpredictable results that can be, it can be good.
Serendipity is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Really. It's always a nice way to be.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's always good. Well, I mean, I got one at Christmas. It was my bonus from work, and I've been playing around with it, but it's currently shelved. It's just behind the computer, just because it's great. Just because I couldn't slave the BPM to anything, so everything was just always getting out.
Yeah,
I need to wire it up.
Yeah, the easiest way, it does have USB on it, doesn't it? I think the easiest way is USB, but
See, so you can just plug it straight into Ableton, or plug it into the computer, and it could just slave it. I'm the same as you, though. I've got 3 USBs on this laptop, and then I've got 3 of those like plug extenders coming out of them.
Oh yeah. Does that slow down like data transfer or whatever you want to call it?
It's got to.
It has to, right? Because I notice if I put my MIDI in through one of those, like if my MIDI keyboard in through one of those, I just notice a pinch more latency compared to when I, put it in direct. It may also be it's a cheap thing, so it might be like an older USB format or something. So, it's a slower transfer.
I've got both my interfaces running into one here on the one side, and I just changed the latency on Ableton just to compensate for it. Yeah. It's not a massive one, but when you come to instruments, like my launchpad goes straight into the laptop when I'm playing, for example.
Yeah.
Because I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
But I'm pushing it essentially. I'm pushing it and what we can do. But I'd like to do more with it.
Same here.
Yeah, nice way to go. But we'll see.
Because everybody says, "No, it's just USB. It's so convenient, isn't it?" Well, it
not when you have a lot.
If you've got a computer that looks like a million holes in it, loads of ports, fair enough. But we don't really.
We'll see.
Mine's got 4 on it.
Yeah, I think mine has 4 and then a couple of those, what is it, Thunderbolt ports, but I don't use those at the moment.
But
I don't use mine either.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out. I mean, Hydro Fighter is in the lobby.
So perfect.
Maybe
let's bring him on in, and then let's move over to talking about Bandcamp.
Let's get him in there. It's been a while since I spoke to Steve, actually, so it'd be quite nice to see him. Not since the last time, not last ADSN, the ADSN before, the beta testing phase.
Yeah. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey guys, how are we?
Not bad.
How are you?
Good. It's midday for me. I'm always going to be late to this meeting because I've got to stand up a 1 o'clock meeting that's usually 10-15 minutes long.
Man, there is no late. You're here. That's all that matters. What is late?
Did you smoke a joint before coming on?
No, I wish. I really wish, but no, unfortunately, no.
We'll see. How are you, Steve? What's new in your world?
Not much. I don't think. Same old. Working on tunes. I just saw the message about the whole Bandcamp stuff, and
we're gonna get into that.
Wow.
What does that mean? I mean,
we don't really know as of yet. I can read the message, or better yet, Josh, can you pull it up and share your screen? Are you able to do that?
I think that's it, right? That's the reaction. Is what does that mean?
So
because we've got
there's a lot of
here
knee-jerk
that's a good
reactions.
thing.
There's a lot of knee-jerk reactions, and I have mixed feelings when I thought about, like, I stopped myself from going, oh god, China, from Epic, and Epic has their issues, and they're a game company, like all this stuff. But I do have mixed feelings about it because, I mean, on the one hand, when was the last time Bandcamp really updated anything? Like, the UI is archaic. So
recently, when they added,
I know they added the
queue
but I mean, you go on the website and it looks like it's from like 2005, right? Yeah. And like the stats thing, and all that stuff. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, like it's very archaic.
I mean, you're right. It
so
could do with some more.
With
if
Epic
anything,
Money,
that highlighted how long it had been since they changed anything.
Yeah, with Epic Money, and they kind of talked about it, as we'll talk about when we read it off, but with the Epic Money, I would assume from what they're saying, they're planning to update a lot of that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a streaming service coming up, or some form of like a streaming competitor, because a lot of people have been talking about it, and with Epic behind them and Fortnite and all that stuff, I could see them trying to do something like that.
Let's just, for those viewing who haven't read their Bandcamps or who haven't read the news yet, basically, to cut a long story short, Bandcamp is joining Epic Games, which is a Chinese company.
No, it's not. It's a U.S. company that has a small, I'm not sure the percentage, but Tencent has a stake in them. The head of Epic is the same dude. I think his name's Tim Sweeney. Unless it's changed very recently, he owns like 52% or so, it's something like that. I mean, don't quote me, but he's still, or Epic itself is still the majority stakeholder, but Tencent / China has a stake in their company.
But Bandcamp will just be a division underneath.
So there'll be like a small sub business or something. Do you have the article?
I suppose that's the question, really, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of it's unknown still. It's just a quick blurb where they're like, we're joining and, we're excited.
Yeah.
So, so this is just what came into my my email. Excited to announce that Bandcamp is joining Epic Games, who you may know as the makers of Fortnite, Unreal Engine, and champions of an open internet, which is ironic, really.
Yeah,
Bandcamp will continue to operate on its own. So, like you say, Steve, it's going to act as probably like a subsidiary, or like just basically bought the revenue for it. They are going to continue on from our side as artists. It sounds like they're going to continue as they are. Bandcamp Fridays will continue, and they're going to keep pushing. Yeah, Bandcamp Daily, that stuff.
Here's the part I was talking about, the however.
So, however, behind the scenes, we're working with Epic to expand internationally and push development forward across Bandcamp, from basics like our album pages, mobile apps, merch tools, payment system, search discovery, etc., to newer initiatives like vinyl pressing and live streaming services.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
That's the optimistic part. That's where I'm like, okay, I think that's really cool that if they keep to their word and all that, keep it artist focused and artist friendly, and they're updating things and making things a better marketplace and all that stuff, like that's a good thing, especially for getting more people to the service. And I think that's the double-edged sword with Epic. Like, you got the money and stuff, you'll get people, but then you've got, it's now a subsidiary of a game company who has stakes from China, which worries me quite drastically, but it's still like the bottom line is going to be a little different, I feel like, with it being a subsidiary of a game company.
It'd be interesting to see how much they charge for those vinyl pressing.
I think they were doing, they started that a while ago, and you had to press 250, and I don't remember the price, but it had to be 250 pressed.
It's a lot of vinyls. It's a lot of vinyl.
I can't even get 250 downloads. How am I supposed to get 250 vinyl?
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. I think in some ways maybe it works the other way around, that if you can produce something physical, maybe you stand a better chance. But even so, it feels like a high bar to entry for, if you want to dip your toe in.
Yeah, but I think part of it is they were just starting. I mean, Bandcamp was just starting that, so maybe with this higher push of money from Epic, they can do a lower entry point for vinyl.
Maybe. Because ideally you want to repress when needed, not have to press 500,000 copies and then have them build a house out of them to live in until they
deteriorate over time.
Yeah. I know it's okay. So it's like the small underdog being bought out by the big guy, and that always is going to raise a few hairs. But I feel like the one reason why I still keep using streaming services is because of things like playlisting. Because I like playlists and I like making playlists, and it's nice to have playlists.
Yeah.
And algorithmic stuff. If they're going to bring that to Bandcamp, for example, as a basic, then I will jump ship away from the likes of Spotify and Apple Music quicker than anything. Because ultimately, if Bandcamp maintain their position as being for the artist, then that surely is better as musicians.
And it's quite a major differentiator as well, isn't it? I mean, they're not like anything else.
Yeah.
Other than, in some of the services that are offered, but the ethos and the financial aspects are very different. In a world where artists' output is being devalued constantly, where, it's pretty much given away, and now you've got to, it's all about playing live. It's turned the industry on its head.
Yeah.
It's something that still offers an alternative and shows that there are alternatives as well. That there are, it hasn't all changed, like the death of vinyl, the death of cassette, it's just, it says who, it's dead when we say it's dead. It's dead when we don't want it anymore. While it's still lucrative, it's very much alive.
And I think CDs saw
that's been
their
borne
best
out.
year sale in a while this year in 2021, didn't they? Like CDs of all things, So there's a market, and that's why I'm seeing a lot of knee-jerk reactions on Twitter and stuff about Bandcamp now that like, you know, sellouts or corporate stuff and all that. And I get it. I'm not saying it's wrong.
I get the fear, definitely.
I get the
because
fear.
There isn't
exactly.
anyone else, right?
Yeah, but
if
the
it was
thing
like
is,
one of the streamers, you wouldn't
see
care,
where it goes, though. But let's see where it goes, because like they've never done anything to screw us yet, right? Like Bandcamp's always seems to be on our side, so you know, let's see where it goes. We have our hesitations. It's worrisome for sure, but it could be a good thing. And the fact that it's part of like Fortnite, which is the biggest game. I mean, if there's some interactions with that could get exposure to our music and things like that. I mean, there could be a silver lining to this, you know.
Yeah.
What did you say, Howard?
Well, I was just thinking that their approach, you know, their differentiator, you know, has worked well for them in the sense that it's created a unique marketplace.
Yeah.
It you know, it is unique amongst, there isn't anything else like it. There is a real vibrant community. There's a lot going on in it. It's created something of real value. So apart from, you know, just being a way of doing things differently and a way of marking yourself out from potential competition and so on, it has actually created something of value. And I guess that's why people are perhaps feeling a little bit twitchy about it.
Yeah. And rightly so.
But at the same time, even the biggest fanboys could say that, you know, couldn't argue that, you know, there weren't some improvements that could be made to, you know, maybe the phone application particularly, I think is the biggest thing, you know, because I think that's how most people consume their music these days. I mean, I buy a lot of vinyl off Bandcamp, but I buy it knowing I get the digital file as well. So if it gets wrecked, you can't listen to it anymore. You can still listen to it. And it does make it a lot easier for listening in the car and things like that, you know. Steve's album benefited very much from that. In fact, all of your albums have done quite well out of my car stereo.
Well, you got to do the car test before you put it out, right? That's the
exactly.
That's the lesson learned. You go in the car and is it bass approved for the car?
Yeah. What does my sub make of it in the car?
Yeah. My car has the weirdest frequency. Like the bass is really bizarre. I think it boosts the muddiest regions. It's so bad.
Yeah. Mine's weird. I mean, it's one of those like loads of speakers Bose systems, but it's horrifically coloured. It really is. So there's a big sub where the spare tyre should be. It's really bottom heavy. It's really coloured. I mean, but it sounds kind of nice.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't use it for monitoring. Jesus.
You have to see. Coming back to this for a second, just to what got me was, okay, so obviously they're a gaming company. Now, one thing that has been twigging since, for me for a while, is the metaverse and the expansion of the metaverse and the metaverse entwining with our reality more and more and more, which is inevitable, really, to some extent. Now, what we're seeing more of through other companies, such as Unity, for example, is where you've got these marketplaces for music, specifically for things like gaming, specifically for Twitch, specifically for people in the metaverse. Now, with a massive overtake by Epic, we could see, on top of things like the application getting involved, more of an expansion of as like a streaming service. You could find that you could buy, perhaps buy our work in the metaverse, that'd be affordable in the metaverse, or people who stream on Twitch or something like that.
That's what I was saying with like Fortnite. I could see them blending Fortnite, and Unreal Engine is one of the most used engines in video games, and everybody that uses it, anytime it's used in a game, Epic gets a percentage of the game sale. They could do, this is just spitballing, but they could do something with like licensing through Unreal Engine using Bandcamp, and you could opt into it or something. I mean, there are some really cool things that can happen.
This is the missing context, because often when you get acquisitions and so on, you hear CEOs. Yeah, you hear CEOs speak a little bit about their vision. Yeah. And about why they think it's a good match and what they want to accomplish and why they actually, bid for it in the first place. And that's the context that I'm missing at the moment.
They haven't said it. It's coming, I think.
Yeah, why did you buy it?
There's going to be some announcement of like, Bandcamp integration into Unreal Engine. There's some reason they're getting into to music. And I would bet it's some sort of streaming alternative or streaming usage in games or something like that.
So when they start introducing AI to NPCs and games, those AI can develop their own musical tastes and become customers, potential fans. They're
Steve,
not real
what do you
people,
think? Do you have anything you feeling about this?
No, I mean, I don't get nervous about this type of stuff, but you just kind of got to let it ride. Initially nothing's going to change because if they're just being bought out, it's going to take a while for them to do anything.
It's true. Yeah.
They got to get all their transaction stuff in order.
The ink's sealed, right?
There's that assessment period, isn't there?
Yeah, so I mean, there's no sense really stressing about anything for a while until you see any changes. And I have a tough time believing if they're being bought out by a bigger operation that it's going to get worse. I mean, I could only imagine that it's going to get better.
Let's hope.
Yeah. I could see.
I'm optimistic on that type of stuff, though.
I am too. Like, I see this as an opportunity more than anything else. Like, it's not as if Bandcamp has been flailing for the last couple of years. If anything, especially during COVID, it's increased in its popularity and it's increased.
It really proved its worth. I mean, not just. I don't mean that in the obvious ways about money and money share and so on. It's just the fact that it was a vibrant community with a lot of value going on in it. There's tons of really high quality music on it. A lot of people that, there's a lot of very big names, moving over onto Bandcamp now as well. So, I mean, it is going from strength to strength in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those big names are dropping off from the Apple platforms too, right? I mean, everybody's just going over to Bandcamp because it's easier to manage. It's kind of like the Star Stream, was it not the Star Stream, the Lightspeed this week when you guys were talking about using distributors and stuff like that, where, I mean, sometimes I don't even know if you need a distributor for some of this stuff. I mean, if you can go to Bandcamp for everything, and if people are going to Bandcamp for all of your stuff, I mean, do you need it on these other platforms for people to download, maybe for streaming? I don't know. Kind of depends on what your goals are and what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Like if you like you say, so say there's a streaming service that kind of akin to the likes of Spotify and Apple Music. If that pops up on Bandcamp, there's no need for us to have these distributors anymore because we put everything up ourselves. And I mean, you might have some issues with kind of like consistency and kind of like things like that, but you're
unless they push it into using a distributor to get onto Bandcamp because of its streaming purpose, and now you have royalties that have to be collected with every play and things like that. So
the glass is half empty for you, dude.
No. I'm just saying, if they do a streaming thing, now you're getting into royalties and things like that, and then because it's a big company who wants protection and copyright and all that stuff, if that's the case, you may have to go through a distributor or something like that. But it would definitely put Spotify, Apple, all that on notice if there's some competitor. And even if they don't do streaming, with Epic's money, if they're promoting Bandcamp, and just the fact that now Epic made this, like I saw Variety was posting about this, and like all these, bigger, papers and, news things and stuff like that. So it's getting exposure to Bandcamp, which is still a good thing for us because the more users on Bandcamp, the more reach we get. So
we might have better opportunities.
Sorry, carry on, Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
We might have better opportunities to collect on streaming, though, with this situation, too.
Yeah.
Maybe better opportunities for putting our style of music into different sort of platforms, the games and advertising type of things or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not being half empty. I'm half full on this. It's actually a good idea. I'm just saying, if we do get into the streaming realm, there probably will be copyright things which would require a distributor or something like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that Bandcamp's been doing for a while now, is just demonstrating the fact that there is other music out there. It's not all Drake and Adele and all the chart stuff. There are all sorts of scenes out there all around the world with all sorts of things going on. The underground is huge. And I don't know about you, but I've always had this preconception, and it could be wrong, about the types of people that frequent these services. So general streaming services I tend to think of as a relatively cold audience where people are consuming, it's a passive consumption
playlist,
and it's a relatively judgmental sort of punter who just knows what they like and wants to be entertained, whereas Bandcamp has managed to attract more fans and people who are looking for something to like and who want to collect stuff and who want to take an interest and get involved in a scene and speak to people involved in it and all the rest of it, who are a bit more passionate about music, music lovers, as opposed to people who listen to music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
just look at like stats and stuff to see that, like you have the supported by on Bandcamp, which you can see people who bought your stuff are listening. I mean, you don't see who, but you see frequent listens and returning listens and things like that. Like they're coming for you. Whereas I agree, Spotify and things like that, it's all playlists and you're just noise in the background of something,
Yeah, and it's all very much like the latest thing, what's new. And that drives me absolutely crazy because it occurs to me on a weekly basis when I listen to something. It was a Letters from Mouse album this week that I was listening to. It was like 2 albums ago for him or something. I was like, this is really fucking good, And that whole sort of like, it's old now. It's like, but it just doesn't change. Things don't get bad just because they're not shiny and new anymore.
They get better,
And I think, often. And I don't know. I find myself constantly wanting to shine more of a light on that. Stuff that isn't new, but it's still great. Stuff that stays with you, that's got some sort of lasting value. I mean, the last Kindly Spoken Thieves album, just, I don't think I'd listen to any other album as much back to back as that.
Are you serious?
It's just like, you get to the end of it and you think,
better restart.
Again.
Flip that round. Start that,
Interesting. I mean, I say that about that album only because I have to listen to the mixes and the masters and listen to that stuff over and over.
That's a whole different kind of listening, though, isn't it?
You guys know what it's like, man. By the time you release it, you're so burnt out on listening to it that
you've got no idea what you think.
Yeah, it's fine. But we get to enjoy your music, Steve. That's the flip.
Yeah.
It's saturated drums. Whew,
I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think at the classic albums of Dark Side of the Moon, and Gilmore makes a comment about how it would have been nice to listen to that album like a regular listener for the first time. Unfortunately for him, he never really had that opportunity. So
we'll never have that. The only thing close enough is taking a really long break and then listening.
I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
And having a memory like mine helps.
You're saying you're still overanalyze it. You come back to it 6 months later, a year later, you're like,
really? Because I don't, because I'm like, it's out. I can't change it.
Yeah. I can let things go.
Yeah. So I'm like,
when I get to the point where I can't remember how I made a sound, like what synth it is or anything, then I can enjoy it a lot more.
I'm way less analytical.
I made a sound.
Yeah. Like I listened to something from 2013 and I was like, wow, I thought this was just like terrible. Then I'm surprised it's this good. Before I knew all about EQ and this and that, like it just sounded okay. It wasn't amazing.
It's funny how you can hear yourself in it, even though it's maybe not fully developed. It's not what you're doing now. But you listen to it and you think, oh yeah, look, I see.
You can see the starts of things.
Yeah, I get that vibe a lot where you think I'm doing something different, and then you listen to it a while later and like, no, this just sounds like the last album. It's just a little bit right? Hey, let me ask you guys this. When you guys write, let's say you're writing an EP or you're writing an album or something like that, do you finish a song and then move on to the next song? Or are you working on multiple songs at the same time? Because I'm like an assembly line type of guy. It's like, I'll do drums, I'll do all these drum things all at the same time because I'm inspired by that type of thing. And then I'll move on to harmonic ideas.
Oh, right. So you'll do multiple tracks, drums. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, multiple songs. Yeah.
So while you're doing a particular instrument or part of it.
Yeah, and what I do with drums is I listen to them in a loop, which is kind of like a drone bass, just to make sure if I can listen to it over and over and still like it, that means I'll use it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. Stress testing.
So if you're right, like what, 4 or 5 tracks just for the drums, then come back to it a week later, just do the synths, for example, go on from there.
Yep, totally.
That's a trip.
That's a good
I don't do that at all.
Yeah,
but I don't do it. I don't do it because it's a bad idea. I don't do it because I try not to start all the songs the same way. So I'm often in a different place. I don't do the arrangements
at the same time.
Yeah, you just do the loops.
I might find myself doing certain things, like if I'm creating sort of modular loops and textures and things like that, I might run across a few songs and see what happens. I might do then. But it's often that I'm at a different part in different songs, doing different instruments, because I started with drums on that one, but I started with the melody on that one, and I started with a weird sort of ambience on that one, and they're in sort of different places.
Yeah, it's a
good idea.
I just start with the loops. I mean, I don't think about the arrangement. The arrangements are one of the last things I do, and then the final mixing on that stuff after that, and then the masters.
But you do the arrangements live, right? Through your...
That's what I'm about to say.
I do. Yeah,
sorry,
with
Josh,
the APCs. Yeah.
Yeah. See, most of mine are born from, like, I just sit at the piano or the guitar and write something, and then I flesh it, like, I'll flesh out the loop. So I'll have the loop of, like, a guitar or a piano, and then if I think it needs more, I just keep adding to that one, 8 bars or 16 bars, and I just make this huge thing, and then I'll just make a quick arrangement and maybe try to make a B-side or something, and then I usually just move on to something else and then go back to, if I really vibed with it, I go back to it a couple days later, work on it, and then about a year later, I'm like, okay, it's done now after that.
A year later.
Maybe 2 if it's this album, I guess.
In a similar vein, I before I start, I always have something I need to work on. I know what I need to, something, be it my work or a collab or whatever. But if it's jam night, for example, I'll go and do my thing in the kitchen and come back, and then it will be, I will have predetermined a tempo, essentially. That's the one thing I do. I'll do a tempo, and then I'll just hit record, and then I'll just kind of see what comes out. Everything will be like laid out, everything's on and ready to go, and it will just be a case of what happens, and I'll go from there. It could be an ARP, usually an ARP, but either a bass line,
a RARP,
like a RARP, yeah, exactly.
As you call it,
a RARP, yeah. It bends out of that, and it can be anything. And I kind of like that. It works for me, I suppose. And then it's only really when I get to the mixing stage, that's when it gets a bit more consistent. So if I usually go by kind of like rhythm background and leads, and then I'll mix drums for a day, for example, and then I'll go and have a look at sound design for synths another day, that kind of thing. That's when I get a bit more technical.
Per track, or do you do like multiple tracks in a day? Like I'm mixing drums on multiple tracks.
I get distracted. My tiny little ADHD brain can't keep focused on things for long. So they always say don't multitask, and I just think it's bollocks. So I'll do a little bit of this. I'll go, okay, that's nice. All right, I'm bored. Let's go do something else. Dopamine. All that and I'll just keep doing that, and it gets me where I need it to be. That kind of thing.
Yeah. See, I mix like one song, the full part, and then I take a break and come back to it like the next day or the day after. Keep working on it. I'll do multiple songs in a day, but my mixes take forever. I'm like fine tuning, and then once I master it, I'm like, oh, this needs to be fixed. Go back to the mix, then go back to the master, and then 10 masters later, there we go. Well, as Josh and Howard know, I'm like, here's master 11, here's master 15. And it's like one tweak, just like one notched frequency.
I've been
Final 12.
More recently, I've been setting deadlines. So like I have, for example, for Marooned, my album that has now been pushed back to September because of life. I have a period where I'm writing and I can be creative at that point. And then I think my deadline is end of May. By end of May, I have to stop writing and I have to be mixing. And then that's all I'm doing.
That brings up something I actually want to ask all of you guys. But go ahead, Curtis. It just reminded me. an interesting point.
That was it, really. As in, I've been trying to set big, long times for bigger projects. So, like, I will do writing, and I will write for 6 weeks. Yeah, and then I will go and I will do mixing.
I have a quick comment on my process and the idea of doing some of this assembly line stuff. You guys know what it's like. You get a new plugin, you get new hardware, and you've got different ideas in the middle of what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
And if you do this assembly line type of thing, you can still implement that instead of having a song that's finished and you're like, oh man, it would have been a lot cooler if I did it with this piece of equipment, right? Or this plugin type of thing.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, everybody can do it their own way. That's the fun of what it is, and it just depends on the tools you're using of what's effective for you. Oh, so what was your question?
Yeah. So okay. The way this is after last year's Future Fade, where I was like writing, mixing, like I couldn't switch between the two modes. I had to be in both modes all the time. For this album, I've been just like in mega mix mode and trying to do. I got it to 12 tracks now or 11, I forget. But it's like I'm just mixing mostly, and then I take maybe an hour a day or 20 minutes a day to try and be creative. And I've noticed, like I mentioned it to Josh in our meeting on Monday, like my brain is in mixing mode. When I try to write, it's like wading through Jello or something. Like it just doesn't do it. Like my brain is just like not on that mode. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm just curious, does anybody else, when you're like in that mixing phase, do you find the struggle in trying to switch back to creative mode? Howard, you're just a god among men, so screw you.
I don't mix much. I don't actually mix that much. My kind of sound evolves as it goes, and by the time it's finished, it's almost mixed. The mixing is kind of just tweaking.
Yeah,
be able to.
But so the idea generation phase is quick. The tracking is quick. The arrangement is really slow and takes ages and drags on a bit, and is a bit of an issue. And
so
then
you have
once
a stuck point.
The mix is quick.
You have a sticking point somewhere else in the
exactly.
process.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But I don't mind jumping from one to the other because the mixing is just, I see that as just fun, really. And I just go until there's nothing that sticks out anymore. Yeah. You know, I get almost there quite quickly. Then I listen back in different environments and I just make notes. Yeah. Once you've done your lists and you've ticked them off and there isn't anything really.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. It's just like,
I try not to be
with 11
precious
songs.
about it. Go, let it go.
I just feel like doing 11 songs at once means it's like that's all there is for most of the time. Like you're working on it because
what I enjoy about doing a lot of songs together is just being able to keep it
fresh.
Keep the buzz going, keep the fresh going. Yeah, just when you get stale, you just chop to another song, do something different, and just keep cycling it. And a good session is when you like chip into like 4 or 5 songs a little bit. Yeah, you feel like you've moved all of them along, in some way. That's great for me. I really enjoyed working in larger numbers of tracks at once. Really? It really helped. Yeah.
See, I'm finding I prefer the other way, and I think I'm going to stick to my like Future Fade method from now on, where it's like you just do it all.
You're a sequential guy, aren't you?
I guess I love sequential circuits, right? No, I just find all these songs at once being in mixing mode. It's just like it's not as fun as the creating an arrangement part for me. Like how you're saying mixing's fun for you. Like I love the end result and the sound, but it just kind of is monotonous to be like, because I'm very meticulous when it comes to EQing and all that stuff, and it's just like it's not fun. I just like the end product. So I like when I can do that while I'm creating. Like if I'm creating one song, it's like blah, blah, blah. But with this project, like I had the songs done. I need to just mix them. And so there's just this many songs that need to be done. So I had all the fun a while ago. Now I'm just doing the final part.
That must drag. Yeah. If that's how you feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love the end result. So it's like, I don't mind doing it. I just would prefer to be doing a little more creative parts, but I don't want to add more parts because then I got to edit and
it's like it's just a swirling.
Exactly. I don't want that endless loop. Like I need to I had to call it. This is done, and I'm gonna edit and then be done.
That's fair. I mean, Steve, thoughts?
I don't think I struggle too much with any of that stuff. I mean, I listening to things in loops. I do a lot of tweaking to the sounds and mixes that way. I mean, really, once I get to the arrangement, my sounds are set up the way that I want to do it. The arrangements come out really quick because I'm doing them in real time on the mixers. And really, a lot of times, by the time I finish a release, my head is so far into what I want to do with the next release that I don't even think. And that's why I say when I release something, I'm just like, I'm almost depressed because I'm just like, I've got cooler new ideas that I would rather have people listen to. But I've already got all of this stuff set up and done already, so I have to release
it. Reminds me of Justin Broderick. He's like, I always hate every release I've got as it comes out, because when I wrote it 6 months ago, I was jazzed about it. But then, a year later, I'm like, I'm on to new things, and I don't like the stuff I knew then. Like, I've learned so much more and stuff. So, I get that.
It's again, like, we've touched on it before, but again, like, that's when I switched over to Ableton. That's when I fell in love really with the entire process. At first, it was just creation. I love creation, and it came to mixing, and I hated mixing because mixing in FL is just horrible. But then I discovered Ableton, and the fact that it encourages literally mixing and creating at the same time. It pushes you to do that, and so now that entire process for me is just one big kind of like journey of amazingness, and then flicking between all these different things, and it's all part of that process. You know me, I love mixing, Michael. I love mixing anyway, but like truly since you find a door that kind of works for you in that sense.
And I do mix as I go. I just like do a lot of fine tuning once I have it in Logic with the visuals, and I think I'm switching more to just using Logic rather than using Reason to write, because like I notice a difference in sound. But I could still use Reason as a plugin, so that's what I'm starting to do.
Well, when you say a difference in sound, do you mean like a difference? Do you mean like literally, like it sounds?
I mean, maybe it's just psychological or something, but like
or compositional or
audibly. No, audibly in terms of like quality. Maybe Reason when it plays back is in 16-bit or something, but I export all the stems in 24, 48. And when I put it in Logic, I'll notice sounds like frequency buzzes and things like that I didn't really hear. Now, maybe it's because my mind has switched more to the analytical mode in Logic, and it might, I've just, but I do notice that there's like some small bit of difference, and I'm like, oh, I need to tweak.
But does that happen when you're just creating in Logic beginning to end? Because
not so much. And I think part of it is also just that I've got with Logic, I have much more visual EQs and visual compressors and things like that because of the Logic plugins that I use. So I think that is also part of it. Maybe it's just because I'm seeing it more, I'm noticing it more, But I'm not sure. I should look into that because it is curious. But I notice a difference between Reason and Logic.
Well, I get where you're going with your ultimate question here because, I mean, when I get close to having my mixes finalized, it's like you start listening to all of your songs. And you're like, well, this song has something that really just mismatches with this. The other song is missing something there. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about jumping in the car and listening to something too. You're like, whoa, that didn't pop out in my monitor at home. It didn't pop out my earbuds or my cans. But in my car, I got to switch something here to make it more consistent with this other song. Yeah, right?
And this is the part that I'm in right now, where it's doing all the reference tests, and so you have to start tweaking things beyond like mixing to just make it fit. It's like now mixing to get that final bit. So that's.
Well, I will say on that point that since I sorted my monitoring out, it happens so much less that I take it somewhere else and I hear something that I hadn't heard.
Yeah,
it may be I go and listen to it in the car and I know it's going to be bottom heavy and I've done a dubby track and I'm thinking
like your remix, man.
It might be a little bit too much.
Dude, that remix has some gnar bass. I love it. For Star God, that thing. When I heard it though, I was like, oh.
I did have to car test that,
But I think you're right, though.
Like, I think I just got away with it.
I think you're right, because since I've moved to this studio, I've had to do much more car reference tests. when I was in the bedroom. What?
It's just because it's relatively new compared to where you were producing before.
That, but I also think because there's no carpet and it's a different setup. Yeah. It's a new room, and I don't have like traps where I want them. I'm still like setting it up, and I'm just not happy with it. So
I think it's the plant. I think it's the plant in the background there, buddy.
Yeah, it's not real.
Your whole mix.
Making it work. Yeah.
It's this box that I forgot to move.
The one advantage I have with some of this stuff is doing the collab with Josh and the Thieves stuff. Is you've got always that extra set of ears. I mean, you don't want to release anything too soon to let your friends know all about the cool other things coming up. But when you've got somebody else, and he'll nitpick the shit out of this stuff, and he finds great stuff that I don't catch.
So does he like give you advice back, and you then make changes, or will he make changes and send it back to you?
No, we bounce the tracks back and forth. Ultimately, I'm more the hands-on type of guy.
Okay.
And he's got his power ears set up, and he's got a different set of monitors than I do, and he's got different cans than I do, different buds than I do, a different car than I do. So it's a good way to balance it out. And so I don't mind with even the Hydro Fighter stuff, if I send it over to him. I mean, he's really running the label anyways. I'm just like, hey, man, check it out. See if there's anything that pops out for you. So
yeah,
you just got to send it over to Curtis. And
that's what I do. That's what I do. I still just have existential crises after it. But no, having those extra sets of ears is like the best thing ever, because you just lose objectivity. You know, you're just like in it, and you just...
Hey, guys, check this out.
Oh, we're moving.
Let me see if I can...
Oh, we're going on a journey.
And we've just lost signal.
Oh, there it is.
Ah, this is the thing, isn't it? This is the thing.
Reference 4. One curve is the outrageous coloration on these awful monitors. I mean, they're terrible.
Why do you use them?
Rockets.
Just to have an awful monitor?
Hang on.
So you see the EQ curve that it's applied to the sound, right? Yeah. And there are two. One's left and one's right.
Oh, interesting.
And what you end up with in red in the middle is a flat response. Huh. And if I A-B'd it for you, you wouldn't believe the difference.
Wow.
What
is that plugin?
I really want to get this. This is
so
nice. Best investment.
It's reference 4. They've got a new one now. They've called it something else now, but I've got the microphone somewhere in here, and I did a sound test.
Is it a specific microphone? Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Well, he mentioned this one back when we were doing more of the what's the other chat thing that we were doing before?
Starstream?
No, the other tool that we're using, Discord.
Discord.
Oh, Discord, yeah.
Discord, yeah.
He mentioned this tool in Discord at some point.
This is what did it for me in mixing. It's not. I go and listen to something somewhere else, and it sounds kind of like I expected it to.
Interesting.
And that was never the case before. I was forever kind of back on mixes and having quite large changes to make, because things just weren't right. And actually having something that's quite transparent that you listen to when you're tracking it, when you're writing it, when you're mixing it, just means that when you take it somewhere else, it doesn't sound as different as you would expect it to, or as it used to before. And it was a godsend for me. I've got a pair of calibrated headphones as well that they measured in the lab and got an EQ curve for that and sent it to me, so that if I go work somewhere else, I can take my headphones with me, and I know that when I switch that software on, they're flat, and I can hear everything. And it sounds a little bit dull, a little bit lifeless, but you can hear everything.
Huh.
And then when you go and play it back through something colored, it just sounds better.
Interesting.
And that's what really did it for me.
I'm not surprised that you have this customized headphones.
Yeah.
Can you write those into my part of the will?
I think they've got standard templates for something like, 500 different types of headphones that aren't perfect because the headphones vary in manufacturing,
right?
But are pretty good. And I listened to the one for mine, and it's pretty good. It flattens them right out so that you can hear everything.
So I still like the old run them through a crappy pair of speakers type of things.
Well, do that too, and a single speaker as well.
Too.
Always drop it down to mono if you want to check your balance and stuff as
and
well.
I love doing the phone test.
Yeah,
it's always a good way to go. I mean, if I like this room that I'm in is pretty hot, as in it's a big 19th century building.
Really high ceiling, isn't it? But it's quite live.
Really live. And so I've ceased to do my mixing in here. I'll do my tracking and I'll do my writing in here. But then when I've got it ready, I'll take it over to work and I'll just sit in the studio there. Just because, I mean, you can't get anything done. I feel like maybe that Sona thing. In one of these days, when I
it looks like it's $300. Is that right? It's SonarWorks reference.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I don't have
you can get the headphone only edition, or you can get the system wide thing that does that covers your monitoring and your headphones.
That looks really cool. I'm definitely as Josh was saying, whenever I can spare the expense, I'm gonna get that because that looks.
Yeah, I thought about it for a long time and built up to it.
Yeah, no, I don't even think about it. I'm just gonna get it.
The cost of getting that versus the cost of actually making your room sound like that.
That's the thing. I just want that peace of mind.
Apart.
That peace of mind of okay, these things are balanced according to that. I mean, yeah, it's not. I'm sure it's not foolproof. You still get a car test, do all that.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a really, really good set of speakers in a really good room, there wouldn't be a huge amount of benefit to that software. But as long as you're sitting in somewhere that isn't a proper studio, right, and you've got some shit monitors, there's a massive gap that you can get out of it.
I feel that works. I have to see. Maybe we should all chip in for one and just have like
ship it internationally. Yeah, an Audionautic. Yeah. I don't know if it does it have like what's that stupid thing? iLock.
iLock.
Oh, is it iLock?
No.
Oh,
okay,
iLock. Good. Got it. I love how you do exactly what I was talking about. That's how bad iLock is. I was like, what's that stupid thing? iLock.
Most of my stuff is on iLock, but it's like iLock Cloud. It's not that you have to have a dongle.
Yeah, I have that cloud.
And when my hard disk died, I couldn't use all my plugins because they were registered to a computer that essentially it didn't think existed anymore. I was on the same computer with a new hard disk in it, but I had to contact manufacturers to have them release licenses and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you just disable this computer from iLock, the cloud, and be
if you've got access to the computer, yes.
Oh my!
But if the computer dies and you can't relinquish it on that, so if it's on a disk that dies, you're stuffed. It has to be done.
Well, his struggle is that he's got 200 million different plugins.
Yeah, knowing how.
I needed Sound Toys. That's what I did.
Dude, Sound Toys is the best though.
There was some things kicking around about it would be nice to have that, but it's like there are a couple of there are just a few plugins that I need. I needed my clipper, Michael. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I needed Sound Toys. I needed the Juno 60 chorus.
Oh, from Arturia.
Yeah. And I needed those soft tube plugins.
And you need the
modular and the saturation knob.
Mellowfi.
And now Mellowfi would definitely be on that list.
Mellowfi, woo! I want to get Valhalla's. Is it Vintage Verb?
Yeah, that's the one you pay for. Yeah,
I really want to get that for vocals and stuff.
I bought Shimmer. That's good. I can't remember about the others. I
love Supermassive, but I find for vocals, Chroma Verb from Logic is actually really useful, and Little Plate. But I really want to try Vintage Verb. I think it's the Vintage Verb one.
Little Plate's brilliant.
Yeah, it's good on vocals,
so
man.
much.
If you cut
Are you singing on the new album?
Yeah, on one song, and then the next stuff is going to have a lot more vocals. Howard and Josh know. They've heard it enough, God knows.
Oh, crazy. I tell you what, man. The Tycho stuff, when he had that album with vocals on it, I didn't buy it, man. I thought it sucked.
I didn't like it, but
I was kind of in the middle with it.
I didn't like it at all. I love this remix
album. I was like,
I love the instrumental, but I feel like he did that for more like just exploratory purposes, and it didn't really, like, the song structures didn't really mesh. I'm only adding vocals like where I feel a song needs it, and if it has something I want to say. I mean, if someone doesn't like it, I don't care. There's other songs that they can listen to that are instrumental. But
that makes sense for some people too, because I know Bonobo does that stuff, and Dead Mouse does that stuff. Makes more sense like that, doing a full album like that with one singer. I just thought restricted that album completely.
I just that album just wasn't there for me. The remix, the instrumental, it was
the instrumental album was great.
It's just like it just felt off. I thought the song Japan was okay with the vocals, but the rest I don't know. It just felt like there was something missing between his compositional style and adding vocals. Like it just needed one more thing.
Yeah, but when you listen to any of the new wave stuff, not new wave, the retro wave stuff, I mean, that stuff, if it doesn't have vocals, sounds like it just doesn't fit in a way, right? I mean, the Midnight, right? Sometimes he does those mixes without the vocals on there, and I think they suck.
But then they're written around a vocal.
That's what I was going to say. It's like
something is literally missing, isn't it? Yeah.
Like the song I did, it's called Farther. There's 5 instrument tracks and 18 vocal tracks. Like I've never done that little of instrument tracks. I mean, a lot of them are doubles, and then I have my friend do a bunch of like harmonies that sound like a synth, like they're just oohs and ahs and stuff that added to that 18. But like I think I'm gonna try to master a instrumental mix, but it's like it needs those vocals. This song just like needed it. That was its point. It's verse, chorus, verse, like all that stuff.
Are you gonna do a video where you're singing and dancing in it?
I won't be dancing.
Twerking.
If you want to dance or twerk, well, we can TikTok it for sure.
Get yourself a nice little boob tube on it. Shake your thing, baby.
We can stream it on Twitch. We'll make it work.
And if you would like to see Sunwarper twerk,
I didn't say me. I said Steve. You won't see me.
It's your album, dude. It's your album.
Audionautic after hours.
OnlyFans.
Good work. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up our first proper.
Before we do though, shout out to Ben who just sent us a message.
Oh, he did. Yes, he
did. Yeah. So, hey Ben.
Hey Ben, we'd like to see you next time. But it's all good.
Sending regards back, my bro.
Looking forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. We're going to be doing these weekly. Hopefully, we could do this live next week. We've got to sort out some live stream issues. Josh's internet is incredibly slow, and I'm logged in on OBS to something else, and it's a nightmare to try and do because my Sunwarper stuff's logged in. So I think I can just download the other OBS, right?
We'll get there, and we'll work it out.
Because I'm using Streamlabs. I would assume if I download the other OBS and just log in, it shouldn't be an issue.
We shall see.
Yeah.
For now, we have to say goodbye. It's been great. Thanks for everyone hopping in. These are fun. It's going to be good fun. Now these are like, we did our beta testing. Beta testing?
Either one. And now suddenly it's a whole thing.
So have I missed any of these chats? I think, the first one Ben was on, Billows was on, you guys were all on.
I think you were on the second one too.
I think.
So this is the third one, right?
This is number 4. So it was this is number 4. So
was there a third?
There was, it was one. There was one, not last
I'm not
week,
counting Mondays.
No. This is our
that was a total bust.
This is our 4th ADSN.
Okay. Well, it's our first actual one.
It's our first actual one.
Betas, yeah.
So this will go up and out so people can see it. So it's going to be interesting. So I have to see.
Cool.
So we'll be back next week, same time, same place, and it seems to be this way forever now. So I mean, not forever. We chop and change what we're doing quicker than anything. But we'll see how it goes.
But just
let's
to
see
clarify,
what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you think. If you like these, if there's anything you want us to focus on, or and of course, if you go over to the Patreon, you're welcome to hop in the chat, as Steve is. And then just to clarify time-wise, this is going to come up probably Thursday because it's a pre-recorded one. Maybe today, depending on uploads and all that. But normally it's going to air on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific. And I think Josh at the beginning said it's like 7 or 8.
So it's 7 p.m. GMT, 8
there we go.
CET.
Yeah. So if you want to come on, once they're actually live streamed, anyone's welcome to be in the YouTube chat. And then if you want to hop on the actual talk, just head over to patreon.com/audionautic.
Exactly. It is lovely.
Bendo, who's already suggested 2 topics for next week.
Oh, nice. Did he
We
say
will be
more? See, I
discussing.
can't move my screen because I'm screen recording, so I can't see.
Cool. All right.
Thank you, Ben. We will
Resonate.
definitely be talking about that.
All right, let's have a look at that. So, there we go. That's our homework. For the week.
Yeah.
We will see you guys in a week's time. Thank you very much.
All right. See you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.
I know.